Good afternoon, everyone. This is Michael O'Malley here with the Hurricane Outlook and discussion for May 21st, 2020, recorded around 4:36 p.m. Eastern Time. Taking a look here at the latest sea surface temperature anomalies, this was updated today, May 21st. You do notice that in the Nino 3.4 region, which is roughly this area right through here, the waters are continuing to cool off now, indicative of about negative 1/2 degree to almost 2 whole degrees Celsius below the long-term average, while the Atlantic main development region is continuing to warm and should warm here over the next several weeks. And as we approach the beginning of hurricane season, which is now 11 days away, as of today, hurricane season officially is 11 days away, and the main development region is still fairly warm and through here as we transition into more of a AMO like phase 1 type deal here. We still have an AMO phase 2 type deal, but that is transitioning likely to more of an AMO phase 1, which would continue to warm the Atlantic main development region. And again, waters are running about 1/2 degree to 1 degree Celsius above the long-term average, with some spots reaching 1/2 degree Celsius above the long-term average. So certainly this area all through in here is very supportive of what could be another very busy hurricane season this year. Taking a look at the actual sea surface temperatures, this is coming from tropicaltidbits.com. You do notice that we have actually managed to fill in most of the area that is now supportive for tropical cyclones. Most of this area from just to the west of the Lesser Antilles and just to the east of the Lesser Antilles, actually, all the way through the Caribbean, Gulf of Mexico, and now even the Gulf Stream is fairly warm. And again, where we had Tropical Storm Arthur a couple of days ago, that actually, if that would have found these sort of waters, that if those water temperatures were there earlier, we certainly could have had a much better organized Tropical Storm Arthur. But again, Arthur's remnants are now over Bermuda and could be impacting Bermuda over the next few days. Water temperatures here are too cool to allow any development, and there's still a lot of shear across this area. And across the eastern Pacific, you do notice that very warm temperatures here up in the upper end of the distribution, about 31 degrees Celsius, so a little over about 90 degrees there Fahrenheit. If you take this as also a look at the CDAS Nino 3.4 region, and you could, this is also from tropicaltidbits.com, by the way, you do notice how we have had this area just continually fall off a cliff and bottom out here at almost about 3 degrees, or about 0.299 below the long-term average. Currently, this is in Celsius, and we are approaching about 3 degrees Celsius below the long-term average, and this has just been falling off a cliff since about mid to late April. And now in through late May, this has just really bottomed out here over the last several weeks. And this is another reason why, again, with the very warm MDR setting up here with reduced wind shear across this region, this is going to likely set up for a fairly busy hurricane season this year. Now, currently, there is nothing going on across the Atlantic or Eastern Pacific, and again, the last deal was with Arthur that kind of came up through here, and now its remnants are impacting Bermuda. But again, nothing really going on in the tropical world for right now, and should stay that way for the next several days. The 2020 Atlantic hurricane season prediction outlook that was released by NOAA this afternoon actually came in with some pretty good numbers. Very reasonable, I do believe. They're predicting 13 to 19 named storms with 6 to 10 hurricanes and 3 to 6 major hurricanes, and especially NOAA did say that that could fall within the upper end of the distribution. So that is certainly one very key takeaway, that this season could be a very busy year. And they're going with a 60% chance of an above normal season with only about a 10% chance of a below normal season. So there's not really much of a chance for any below normal activity, and near normal is about 30%. So it's very likely that we will be seeing a fairly active season this year. This is probably going to be one of the most active since about 2017 or so. Again, we know how the last few years have been, that it's been fairly busy as well. We've kind of been in that pattern since about 2016. So if this year does in fact become another above normal season, this will be, I believe, the 5th consecutive or 6th consecutive year that this has been above normal. So certainly one thing to really pay attention. Again, it only takes one storm, however, to make a difference for you and your family. So make sure you guys are very well prepared. Review your hurricane preparedness kits. Make sure you have everything. Make sure you know your evacuation routes if that's something you guys have to deal with. Make sure that that is going to become something that you are very familiar with over the next several days or so and over the next few weeks. Now, taking a look, this is the European model, the ECMWF average mean 200 velocity potential anomalies. This is ending as of June 5th of this year. So June 5th, this is ending, and it's actually starting on May the 31st on a Saturday night. We do notice that, as we were talking about yesterday, this has been very well advertised by the models that there's going to be rising air over the Atlantic and Eastern Pacific over the next coming weeks. And so with a lot of sinking air over the portions of the Western Pacific and Central Pacific areas, there's going to be a lot of sinking air suppressing hurricane development out here. But it could promote something in the far Eastern Pacific or the Atlantic Basin, as what's called a Central American gyre tends to set up. And it's going to try to over the next several days. And we take a look here at the GFS. This is the 850 millibar vorticity, looking at the spin about 5,000 feet off the ground. You do notice all of this air over here, all of this vorticity is stretched out. This is not really anything but the remnants of Arthur and an old frontal boundary that is draped across the area with somewhat of an upper level low just sitting across over here, more of a cutoff low. And you do notice over the next several days, this front actually dips south, and we're left with some vorticity spin across here, which the GFS doesn't really do much with. It actually weakens it over the next several days. But if we just move out here, it's about hour 198, and this is getting out there pretty far, but it's well advertised by the models. We do have somewhat of a tropical wave here. You do notice that kink in the isobars, which is lines of constant pressure. We do have somewhat of a trough axis here, which could be a tropical wave or some sort of system, upper level system here. But the main attention is going to be down here, where we actually have what's called a Central American gyre coming in. You can see the clear turning with the winds over here. That's indicative that we have something trying to develop out in this region, either in the Eastern Pacific or the Atlantic Basin. The Atlantic seems to be one that could be getting the activity, but again, the Eastern Pacific is the one that's climatology favored for this time of year. So climatology is on its side in terms of Eastern Pacific development, but we can never discredit anything forming across portions of the southwestern Atlantic or the Caribbean or Gulf of Mexico as we head into early June. And you see the European model also has something developing here, some sort of upper level system developing by hour 72 across the North Atlantic here. But you do notice much of the same here. We do get much of a Central American gyre that is trying to set up here with formation occurring over in the Eastern Pacific. But again, either in Eastern Pacific or the Atlantic Basin, there could be something trying to set up past about 10 days or so. Again, it is still very too early to determine where and when things will kind of get kicking off here. But again, it is very well advertised by all the computer models. This is something that is now tending to trend to development somewhere either in the Eastern Pacific or the Southwestern Atlantic, Caribbean, or Gulf of Mexico regions within the next couple of weeks. So that's going to be something we're definitely going to keep an eye on. Again, thank you guys for watching today's edition of the Hurricane Outlook and Discussion. I will be back with more for you in the next couple of days.